It's time for Pod of the Dead. Join us.
All right, whatever.
Anyway.
Hello, and welcome to Pod of the Dead. I am your host, Nicholas, and with me, as always, are the two final girls, Stephanie and Natasha.
Hello. Hi, guys.
On today's episode, we are covering the 2018 acid-drenched, heavy metal, revenge, horror, surrealist nightmare film, Mandy. Tasha, do you want to tell us what this film is about?
Thought my internet cut out. Also having internet issues. Just had mute.
Okay. Would you like to tell us what the movie is about?
I would love to. Mandy is a 2018 action psychological horror film directed by Panos Cosmatos, produced by Elijah Wood, and co-written by Cosmatos and Aaron Stewart based on a story Cosmatos conceived. A co-production of the United States and Belgium, the film stars Nick Cage, Andrea Rosenborough, Linus Roach, and others. That's all Wikipedia said. That's not. That gives you nothing.
Well, I mean, in my head, the less you know about this film, the better. Because no matter what I tell you about this movie, it's not going to be what you're seeing. Because, like, I could tell you that this is just like an acid trip version of John Wick meets Hellraiser meets David Lynch, but
yeah,
it's not that. It's so much weirder and more out there. But
this is the second time I've seen this movie. Oh, I'm jumping to your question.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
This is the second time I've seen it, and I had to have a synopsis pulled up with me to read along so I knew what the hell was happening. Because I know for damn sure the first time I watched it with you, Nick, I had no clue what was happening.
Yeah.
Literally the whole movie.
Steph, what's your history with the movie?
I only know what you guys have told me. So I did not know this was a revenge film. Like, I didn't know anything. I knew it had Nicolas Cage, and usually his movies are very like, they're almost always out there in some degree.
Yeah.
Like, and this is no different. So that was kind of it. Like, I didn't know shit. I knew it was called Mandy. I knew that you'd said it was like an acid trip, obviously, which completely makes sense for this movie. And, Nicolas Cage is doing Nicolas Cage.
Oh, he goes full Cage mode, full rage Cage mode in this movie.
Legitimately, yeah.
So this film came out in 2018. What do you think its budget was?
$0. No, I don't know.
Whoa.
They did a lot with that budget.
I know.
Man, I was doing so well there for a stint. I feel like I'm falling off. We're going to go with $6 million.
$6 million? What about you, Steph?
I'm going to go 3.4.
It was $6 million.
Okay.
Yes! On the nose. Cool.
So you get to pull $100 out of a creepy old man's pocket now. Per the Bob Barker tradition.
It's going to be all warm.
It's going to probably have tapioca pudding in there. God, I hope it's pudding.
A loose Tootsie Roll.
A loose Tootsie Roll, not in a wrapper. So this had a limited release, so not like a massive release. I believe it was released into about 200 or so theaters. I think it was like 222 theaters. So
next to none. Okay.
On that, what do you think its box office was?
Oh.
The timer has went off. Answers now.
1.5.
I don't think it broke $1 million. That's my answer.
No more than $1 million. So 900.
Less than $1 million. Yeah. $900.
$900. 1.7 million. You guys have been really good on this one, so you're really close, Steph. So yeah, like when it released, it premiered at the Sundance Film Festival in 2018. It began its limited cinematic release It played at a maximum of 250 theaters and was released on video on demand later that year, and that's when I saw it. So like I'd heard about this movie, and it literally is like everything that I want in a film. Like if you were making a movie for me, this is it. Not to kind of give away possible stuff later on in the episode.
This is Nick paint by numbers.
Oh, fuck yeah. It's like, does it make sense? True. Is it just insane? Is Nick Cage just eating up the scenery? Yeah, he's going to like this a lot. So, Nick Allen of Roger Ebert praised it, writing that for all of the endless feral performances that Nick Cage has given in movies, good, bad, and forgettable, Cosmatos' style-driven 80s-tastic passion for weird worlds and characters take full advantage of Cage's greatness and then some. Okay. And that's one of those things. So he plays Red Miller in this film. That is not who Cosmatos wanted him to play originally. He wanted him to play Jeremiah Sand, the cult leader.
Oh, no.
Wow.
And upon reading it, Nicolas Cage was like, I actually want to play Red. So Cosmatos wanted the film to be more about youth and like age. So like the old cult way and then like the young lovers.
Okay.
And it just didn't work out. It wasn't until way later when Elijah Wood came around and everything, he kind of, like, I think this could kind of work and everything. And they ended up giving him the part of Red Miller, which is like, I could not see this movie this is one of those films I cannot think of anybody else that would be in that role. Like, this movie lives and dies by him losing his shit in a bathroom with a tiger on his shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
There are so many scenes in this movie that I just picture them not giving Nick Cage any direction and just going like, go be mad. And that's what you get.
He had a legitimate screaming teacher for that scene, like someone to like teach him how to like, we want you to emote in this way and everything. So not spoiler territory yet or anything, but if you've seen Nicolas Cage in movies, or if you've seen anything about this film, you've probably seen Nicolas Cage screaming. So
yeah.
But yeah, this film, Legion M, which is an entertainment studio that allows fans to invest in and be part of the creation, was the production partner for Mandy. And it hosted panels discussing the featuring director and others at the Sundance Film Festival. Cage made a surprise appearance to the event. So like it's not Kickstarter or anything like that, but it is an entertainment studio that's like, you give us money and you're going to like be able to be like, it'd be really cool if you guys did this. It'd be neat if you did this and everything. So that's Legion M.
Some of the weapons that would make a little bit more sense, probably.
Well, speaking of are you talking about the big axe in this film?
That kind of looks like a scythe a little bit too, but yeah.
So the weapon forged by Red was based on the F from the logo of extreme metal band Celtic Frost. So like it literally is just like nonstop metal throughout this whole thing. All the animation and stuff in this film is reminiscent of the heavy metal magazine and the animated film and stuff like that. Like the title cards and stuff are reminiscent of 70s like rock bands, and then it starts getting into more like extreme territories when the actual title card for Mandy comes in after an hour and 12 minutes, I think, into the film. It finally is like Mandy. So like
that was weird.
Well, it's one of those things that like the way that I look at it is the movie doesn't start technically until then. This is all the prelude, like building to the revenge film.
Agreed. First hour is long.
I can 100% understand that because it's very disjointed and stuff like that. It's very dreamy and everything. But when we get into spoiler territory, all of that stuff though makes sense. Like when you actually watch the movie, and I'll explain it, but like you'll have to bear with me.
Yep.
Let's do this.
So we've got, Jeremiah Sands, right? He's our cult leader and everything. There are several similarities between him and the real-life cult leader Charles Manson. Like Sand,
Yes.
Manson was a failed musician who reportedly took it very personally when his musicianship was insulted. Sand refers to his victims as pigs, as did Manson and his followers. Psychedelic drugs were also used before acts of violence. Watching this, it's obviously like acid drenched and stuff like that. There is a scene in which there is a large insect. I thought that was just like a made up thing until Steph's like instantly like, oh no, that's a real thing. Like that's the actual size. And
it's somewhere around there. Yeah, it is a real thing.
People use it and get high off of it. Like the way that I didn't know that. Like, so, but, trying to think of I can't wait to actually like talk about this. So I'm trying to give out some information to possibly get you, if you haven't seen this movie, to check it out. You can watch it. Like we watched it on Shudder, but it's also I think like on Pluto and stuff like that.
Okay.
I think it's on Amazon Prime is where I watched it.
Okay. So let's see here. I can't talk about that. Can't talk about that. I guess I can talk about this. Let's see here. Yeah, no. Most of this stuff's got to be behind the spoiler wall. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So what I do want to bring up though are, you read us our overview, but I have a few others that I found.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
This is going to be interesting.
A meek logger from the state of Washington and his 8 companions set out on a journey to destroy a powerful ring to save Middle-earth from the Dark Lord Sauron.
Are you kidding me right now?
Elijah Wood is tied to it.
Yeah, I know. Lord of the Rings.
Yes,
Like the logger.
The logger.
That's good.
Newly paroled ex-con and former U.S. Ranger Red Miller finds himself trapped in a prisoner transport plane when the passenger sees control.
I love this movie. I just watched this. Yes, I literally just watched that like 2 months ago. Yep.
That's a good one.
I love that movie. Yep.
To foil a terrorist plot, FBI agent Red Miller assumes the identity of criminal Jeremiah Sand, who murdered his son through facial surgery transplant.
Oh my God.
Transplant surgery, but the crook wakes up prematurely and vows revenge.
What the
Face
fuck?
off.
Yes. That movie is fucking trash. It's so bad.
It's so good.
I remember watching it so many times as a kid.
I
Face
did
Off and
too.
The Rock. I watched those so much.
I loved Face Off as a kid, and we literally, was it last year we rewatched it, and I was like,
So
this
good.
movie is fucking horrible.
I love
Like
it.
it does not hold up at all.
It's so good.
I hated it so much.
Red
That
Miller.
last scene is terrible.
Red Miller must follow a clue left in John Wilkes Booth's diary to prove his ancestors' influence in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
I know what it is, but I can't think of
Is
the
that
name.
national? It's not National
Yes.
Treasure. Okay.
And this is National Treasure 2.
I was gonna say that's not the first one.
I'm so glad you did all Nick Cage aside from the one because I was
Yeah.
like, I don't know any other actors.
I didn't
in
either.
this movie.
I was worried about that too, Tasha. It's okay.
Well, like jokingly, I've always thought about doing an entire podcast where we just watch Nicolas Cage films and stuff. So I felt it was only suitable to, since this is our first Nicolas Cage film, to literally just be like, "And Nicolas Cage is in this film." Our patron saint of Pod of the Dead. So
Yeah. So for those who are listening, Tasha bought Nick coasters that are in our house that we have all over of Nick Cage's face in different movies. So like Nick really likes Nick Cage, and then Noelle got him a fucking pickle magnet with Nick Cage's face on it for
Pickles.
Christmas. It's Pickles.
Pickles.
Yeah, Pickles Cage.
Yeah,
I gotta say, those coasters are one of my favorite presents I've ever gotten you.
Oh my gosh.
It's so
I
good.
was so proud of myself.
Ridiculous backstory though. I don't know if we ever told Tasha this or not, but Maya had a friend, was a friend who came over of like a little get together at our house, and he stole one of them. And Maya tells us about it. And Nick's fucking furious. He's like, I'm going to hunt this damn kid down and get my coaster back. And I was like, it's a coaster. He's like, I don't give a shit. It's the principle of it.
It was specifically the Nicolas Cage Con Air, like wispy mullet in the wind. That was the one. I was like, not my hunky
It's the one
boy.
we keep. Yeah, it's the one we keep in our living room. And it's there now. We did get it back. Maya was like, my parents are going to kick your ass if you don't freaking give me this coaster back, you thief. And I was like, yes, that's true. And so finally, it took like a month, and he finally like slipped it back to her sometime. But yeah, so we have it, and it's in good, pristine condition still. But yeah, we had a teenager steal a fucking Nicolas Cage coaster from our house.
Nothing is sacred.
Connor Nick from Nick.
Yeah.
No, he was so mad. It was very comical. But yeah, that's the past, so it's okay.
I'm glad they mean so much to you.
Yeah, they do.
I'm leaving it. I'm leaving it to you in my will, Tasha.
Just that one,
Just that
not
one.
this full set.
No,
Just
the rest are being buried with me.
Yeah.
So, if you're new to Pod of the Dead, this is a horror film club. So what we do is we give you a little bit of information, try to sweeten the pot, maybe get you interested in something a little new. We give out homework at the end of the episode. So if this is your first time being with us and you have not seen Mandy, you can always fast forward to the end of the episode and get next week's homework so you can watch it ahead of time. Mm-hmm. Around that time, also, we kind of do some championing, some things that we really like. It might not even be horror related. Sometimes it's weird ass tentacle porn. It's usually always weird ass tentacle porn.
No,
Don't listen to Steph. She doesn't know what she's talking about. She's hysterical. It happened
like twice.
Hysterical.
It's usually weird stuff, or it's marshmallow porn, or whatever else. Something. This week is not that exciting. Sorry, but
don't tell them that. They're gonna shut it off now. No, guys, it's gonna be marshmallow tentacle porn.
The end.
Yes. Who knows what'll be back there?
Oh my gosh.
If you don't care about spoilers, we're about to get into spoiler territory and openly discuss our thoughts, what we think happened in this film. This is the first movie that I actually wrote this is what I think the underlying narrative of the film is and stuff.
Okay.
So because it is a very surreal film. You're not even 100% sure if your narrator is to be trusted through this movie.
It's something. Yep.
So without any further ado, let's crank some tunes. Let's drop some acid, and let's talk about Mandy.
If you'd like to be part of our horror film club, make sure to follow us at Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Pod of the Dead. All of our episodes can be found at podofthedeadorelse.com or wherever you stream music and podcasts. If you have movie recommendations or questions for us, email us at podofthedead666@gmail.com. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Or else.
Okay. Let's do that.
Before we get into that, I want to hear that 10 out of 10.
An insane art house heavy metal B-movie drug trip in the best possible way. This is a film that most people won't get. I say that not out of any sense of superiority. I completely understand not liking this movie. It is slow and abrasive and has a vast, jarring tonal shift. It is filled with monocolored psychedelia, scored by a beautiful and incredibly ominous Jonah Johnson score, featured guitar parts from Sun O's Stephen O'Malley. That is certainly not for everyone. This is a film that feels like it's made for a very intensely specific audience.
I'm that audience. It's me. I'm that audience.
One that loves David Lynch and Don Dohler and death metal in equal measure.
Goddamn right, baby.
It is a beautiful, moving art piece, and yet it pays constant homage to the 70s and 80s B-movie schlock, and most of all, heavy metal. The performances are fantastic, though it can be strange. Initially with how quickly they shift from serious to comedic and something else wholly impossible to describe.
Very much so.
The cinematography is beautiful and nearly unmatched. I agree with that. You will likely never see another film that looks like this. You will see a vast and barren alien landscape, bizarre and visceral gore, melting faces, and reality-shattering animations. The pacing of the film, while it may seem strange and jarring to some, I felt was done perfectly. It takes a bit of getting used to, and Mandy is very, very much not for everyone. But if you think an art house heavy metal surrealist drug trip action revenge horror movie... That was a long one. I had to get
That is, yeah.
And I can think of no other way to describe it. Is exactly your thing. This might just be one of your new favorite films.
Yep.
It was a really good review.
It was a really good review. That was done well. And almost like Nick wrote that or something.
Yeah. I like that.
Write that.
I don't think you could get any more words into this description. It's perfect. An art house heavy metal surrealist drug trip action revenge horror movie.
100%. Like there's no other film like this. I've seen a lot of films. There are a lot of films that do this, but they don't look this way. They don't that is without anything. Like even if you don't like this movie and stuff, there is no denying that it is pretty.
Yeah.
It's something.
All right, let's hear that 1 out of 10.
Okay. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. This is already starting off interesting. So here we go. 1 out of 10. Twin Peaks versus Hellraiser. Arty farty nonsense.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
If you like Twin Peaks, then this might be for you. If you liked Hellraiser, then it is not.
That's not true. I like both those films. Or, well, TV show and films.
It is painfully slow in the build-up to the revenge section of the film. For example, there is over a minute of a man opening and closing a screechy car electric window whilst the other occupants stare out of the window.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. I love it. I laugh so hard at it because how slack-jawed that guy is during it. And the other guy's annoyance.
His wife reads extract from a book. What? His wife reads extract from a book.
Like
why?
Excerpts, I guess.
Excerpts?
Maybe it was an auto.
Maybe that's what he wanted. Yeah, because that's.
I get what he's saying. It's like, well, why is that? Why does that matter? It all matters. Go on.
A man making acid tabs releases a tiger from a cage that roars at the moon.
Yeah, it looks like the t-shirt.
Why?
It looks like those t-shirts. And initially, up until that day, that was just going to be a lizard. And when, what's his name? I've got him here somewhere.
From a lizard to a tiger?
He showed up to shoot. And Cosmatos is just like, it's a tiger now. Lily's a tiger now. He's like, okay.
Well, okay. In fact, as I write this, I think it must have been one of them games where someone starts a story and then passes the story to someone else for 1 minute. This film is a collection of about 100 scenes written by 100 different people and then cobbled together to form this sixth form art film in red and blue, each to their own. And maybe I'm missing the point of this film, but to be honest, if you want a film with a story, please don't watch this.
Well,
oh wow,
this is the thing. So I can understand, like, I 100% get the whole thing of it's not for everyone. I get that 100% because the story is 100% there. It's not just it's not a linear narrative that is like bullet pointed. Each of those scenes, no matter how ridiculous they may seem, her reading from the book, their conversation about planets, all of that actually matters in the movie because they're metaphors for what is happening during the movie. So before we get into our thoughts and stuff, I'm just going to read to you what I have written about, like, this is what I believe the movie is about.
Okay.
For the most part, right? So, like, and I've got it bullet pointed. So it's not like, it's not beat for beat or anything, but it kind of will make some things maybe, hopefully, it makes sense to you. So I'm going to start with Friedrich Nietzsche has a quote that says, "Beware that when fighting monsters, you yourself do not become a monster. For when you gaze into the abyss gazes also into you. That is a huge deal with this film. So we are alluding to in this movie that it's a slice of life. There is definitely a lot of stuff that predates this movie that they show in little snippets, such as Red drinking from underneath the sink. He pulls out a bottle of liquor under the sink. Why? That's something alcoholics do. They hide liquor around the house. We know that Red has some sort of sordid past because he goes and he gets his weapon from, like, it's almost like he has this, he's like a broken man that has this life of vice. And when him and Mandy got together, which we see at that concert, when he's wearing his favorite shirt, this is also why that's his favorite shirt. It's because it's the shirt he wore when he met her.
Yeah.
That she kind of fixed him or made him happy, like brought him like peace.
It's John Wick.
Well, there's a lot
100. Well, in that sense, it's like I got a woman, got out of the game, and now I'm with my lady.
That's a story as old as time, though. Like
I know, but this was around the same time that all that stuff was really popular too.
But John Wick takes from like all sorts of like samurai film. Like, I mean, you could literally go to Shogun Assassin and just like draw the line, or Seven Samurai and all that. But I understand the timeline and stuff, but I by no means do I think that it's like copying it by any means. No. So then Mandy also comes from a sordid background. The scar on her face suggests that she was probably raised somewhat in a bad relationship somehow. We also get the bird story about the starlings and everything, so her family there, right? So they finally find peace together. That's where we meet them. They've got this house out in the woods. He's been talking about wanting to move, and she's like, but this is our home. Like, and it sounds like such a dumb quote, but it makes so much more sense, where it's like, this is our home, this is where we live. That is like, that's so much more, instead of it just being like, this is our home, this is where we live, obviously, but there's a lot more weight to it, in the sense of, this is where you and I, this is where we live. This is us. This is our center, right? So Mandy talks about how she loves Jupiter, how it has this red storm. Doesn't say Red, his name's Red. Has this storm that's always boiling under the surface. It's always going. He is Jupiter. She loves that planet. He is Jupiter. Okay? And then he talks about how he loves the planet Saturn, blah, blah, blah. But then in a Nick Cage way, because he's a huge comic book fan and everything, but it still also makes sense with him. He's like, I like Galactus, and she's like, oh, that doesn't matter. That's not a planet and everything. He's like, well, he eats planets. And in this film, he basically does just destroy everything in his path. So that, again, is like basically him. So when Mandy is killed, Red unleashes his red spot storm and destroys everything in his path. And on his journey through grief and revenge, he takes the same exact acid that the Black Skulls, the motorcycle club, takes, which turns him into the same monster that he himself is hunting, and just wipes it out and basically reverts back to almost like a Conan the Barbarian thing. Like, this movie is very, I can't remember his name, Frank something. Anyway, it's very Conan-esque in that sense of like, like my woman has been slain and I shall go and I shall exact my revenge. And it's got a lot of that kind of feel to it. So that's like, there's all those little bits of like the comments and stuff like that in the beginning are very like, it's very slow and everything, but it's like, it's all set dressing, and like this all is telling you, it's foreshadowing in a way, but not so heavy-handed where it's like, oh, I know where this is going. So yeah, there it is. That's my little thing that I wrote.
Yeah, I picked up on, I did pick up on all of that when I watched the movie. So like, I do think if you pay attention and you kind of pick up the subtleties, you'll get all of that. I don't think it's a hard narrative in that way. It is, like I said, it is trippy, and the beginning of the movie is really slow. Like, it is a slice of life film, especially in the beginning, and their house is fucking gorgeous. I'm sorry, I absolutely loved that house. It was awesome. And I do like some of the coloring in the movie. I am not as into the psychedelic colors and like all the craziness as much as you guys probably are, because I just didn't think that, I mean, I know it added to the film because that was the intention behind it, but I don't necessarily think that that's something for me in a film. But like, I liked that she was like a reader, and she was also into music, and she played music and like all this cool stuff. And she was always wearing a metal band shirt or like a musician shirt, which I really liked. And I did like that she was like attractive, but she had this big scar on her face, and like that made her, she was very interesting, but in like that introspective, darkened person. Like she didn't come across as like this bubbly or friendly or necessarily like, just seemed like a very laid back kind of person. At least that's how I perceived her, I guess.
Yeah. Film School Rejects, which is a website, they had like a very interesting take, like talking about Mandy, the character. Says, in fact, the film itself is obsessed with the idea of Mandy and what she motivates men to do. It's not really a film about Mandy as a person, but as a figure who is worshipped, who doesn't want to be. She is kidnapped for merely looking at a man and then is killed in the name of male jealousy. She is also the impetus of Red's bloody revenge, and also often appears to him like a magical creature guiding him to victory. But ultimately, her actual character represents a fear many women can identify with, the fear of what male attention brings.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think she is kind of like, who is the Helen of Troy or something, kind of like the idea of she's and then she's wanted, but she doesn't necessarily want to be wanted. So yeah, I like that. And my favorite scene is actually a scene with her in the movie. So like, I was actually telling Noelle about it. I was like, this movie may not be for you, but that scene was my favorite scene. So
which one?
The one where, I guess we're already in spoiler territory, so we can talk out of line. But anyway, so she gets kidnapped and I'm like, oh shit. And the scene leading up to it is such a fucking weird trip because there's like this red smoke and it's like really strange. And he like sees her through this van window, which is like really creepy. And then like he starts having people stalk her basically to like feel her out and figure out where she lives and fill out this information. So this Jeremiah dude, which is weird because that's my ex-husband's name, by the way. So he is like this very creepy, very I always called it like brother, cousin, sister, wife, weird, like cult leader of like 5 people. So it's like, it's not like this big cult of like, oh, we're really worshiping. It's like some dude that woke up one morning and it was like, hey, what would happen if I made everybody like that lives in my little backwoods podunk town start like the 3 of us start like worshiping me, and I tell them that I'm the coming of Jesus or whatever, and that's what I do, and because these people have 5 brain cells, so that's kind of what it feels like. And
they're all acid like washed out, like it's just like fucking like
but they're
out.
but they're more than that. Like it's also like very like, it reminds me of like West Virginia backwoods kind of like, it doesn't necessarily feel like they started out as like really good humans. Okay. So,
well, yeah, they're in the drug trade. So they're already like,
that's true.
And then they found him and he's the charismatic guy and boom.
Yeah. It's crazy. So then when she gets taken and she's going in there and he's like playing her his record, like he's singing, which is like the most fucking ridiculous, I'm Jesus, come to me kind of song, you know, whatever. And it's the lights are all fucked up and stuff. And like there's all of his like followers like sitting on, you know, tripping out or whatever. And this is after they've drugged her, put acid in her eye and stabbed or put a whatever in her neck and stuff. Anyway, so she's sitting in there and he basically takes off his robe and he's like naked underneath in front of everybody. And he's like basically showing himself to her like, hey, you should want me. This is what I'm offering you. And it was the most uncomfortable scene in the entire movie, realistically, of just like, you just cringe just watching it because it's so bad. And then she just starts fucking laughing at him. And I love it so much. That is my favorite scene by far in the movie, only because she's just like, she's just like throwing her head back and she's just cackling at this dude and his dick's out and she's just laughing at his penis and he's like, don't you laugh at me, and she's just laughing at him. And I was like, I would have to say that is the epitome of woman empowerment, in the sense of like, oh, you want me to want you, oh, you expect me to do these things and you drugged me and you want all this, and she still is enough within her own self that's like, nope, I'm still gonna laugh at you. And then obviously what happens to her subsequently is very sad, but that was my favorite scene in the whole movie. I fucking loved that scene. It was so good.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. Like that whole acid trip scene, like that. It not that I've been in that situation, like that exactly, obviously, but like the way it's shot, the fact that there's like, it's weirdly silent. It is just exudes uncomfortableness, like the whole time, and then it gets to the point where like he's in her face and their faces are like merging back and forth and everything, and it's so unnerving because it's so claustrophobic feeling and everything, and there's so many tracers with everything. It's so beautiful. But
I thought the face melding part was more uncomfortable than her laughing at him because of that. It's happening so subtly that like I wasn't sure if it was until it started to shift that second time. And his monologues in this movie are one of my favorite parts too, because there isn't a ton of dialogue, it seems like, throughout this movie, but when there is, it's at length. It's very lengthy, and I really like his like tirades in the movie.
Oh yeah, I legitimately his final tirade before he gets got and stuff. I actually just sampled for a song, so because I love it so much. But yeah, like the scene, like that scene, you know, you get that, and then she gets taken out. You know, they put her in the fucking bag, the sleeping bag, hang her up, douse her in gas, and light her on fire, which is supposedly an old Hell's Angels like signature move, which is like what they were saying was like that, like being tied in with like the Black Skulls and everything, which are like the acided out fucking biker gang.
Can we talk about them for a second?
Yeah, they're right here.
So
I'm wearing a Black Skull shirt right now.
Wow.
Hey guys,
look at those guys. Hi. Hello. So we have the stone flute that looks like the ocarina.
Yes.
And they play it. Are they supposed to be demons, or are they just mute? Like, what are they?
Well, nothing is actually told exactly. There are certain things that are kind of alluded to. So when Red goes to get his crossbow and stuff, the man that he's talking to says that there's mixed opinions even amongst the locals over whether the biker gang is wholly human or not. People say they live in the trees, come and go with the wind, commune with some dark dimension. He also says they're no longer able to process reality in the way that most humans experience it, and that what they've become is more akin to rabid animals than any normal human. So it's
because they also talk about like the tainted LSD has turned them that way, but they're like they look like demonic Power Ranger villains.
Yeah, like because it has a lot to do too, like the way they look and everything is very much because it says like they thrive on pain and all this stuff, and like they've got like nails embedded in them. They're wearing like
because they're masochists that like to do drugs. So I mean,
well, and not just
hardcore masochism,
and not just a little bit of acid. Like the dude is literally guzzling a jar of it, and like Nicolas Cage takes a little bit of it later, just a little bit, and goes on a psychedelic trip where his face fucking melts and everything.
Yeah,
and then he proceeds to do a massive amount of coke, and, and it's literally from that part on in the film, like basically the way that you can watch this film is as it's shown to you, like this happens, right? Or there's two other ways to watch it. Either that whole part afterwards is just an acid trip that it's not actually happening, or when he wrecks the car, from that point forward, it's the last dreams that he's having as he's dying, because he flips the car, and the next you see him, he's like in this place that the one guy like that cuts his shirt and everything that's there. From there, it's like
It's my favorite line.
you ruined my
It's my favorite shirt.
Yeah, like I mean, there's already some weird shit previously, which I'll touch on, but like this is where it just like completely loses track of reality. You know, like he rips the pipe off, knocks the guy down this endless shaft.
This shaft. Yeah, that
Like,
was
it's
weird.
just like nonstop, like always just like all this weird stuff. But like
The big spiky guy has like a penis that's a sword or something.
yeah,
Yes.
fucking insanity.
That was so fucking weird.
Yeah.
And then he stabs him in the throat and just bathes him in blood. Love that. In front of the
Obnoxious.
porn. In front of the
Yeah.
porn on the TV.
Yeah.
Like, I think this movie would have been good without all of that. Obviously not as crazy, but aside from the giant fight scene, what's the point of the black skulls in the movie?
I mean,
Like, they're very little beforehand, and they supposedly, like, helped grab her and has something to do with Jeremiah, like, being... Like, it seems like there's something there where Jeremiah, like, bows to these guys.
well, he doesn't bow to them. Like they just they give away the fat kid, as they refer to him, as sacrifice to them to do the job because they like. I get what you're saying. Jeremiah though is just like, do it. Like get them. You know, get the acid freaks. Get them to do it and and blah blah.
He doesn't
blah.
want to get his hands
Because
dirty.
he's not there.
Yeah.
He's not there when it
Yeah,
happens.
that I know. But I was thinking
Well, he is
by
later, but he's
summoning
not-
them, by summoning them, like that was the person that he was kind of worshiping, that was giving him like
he's
the
not
one that said like he's better than and deserves all of this. I thought that came from Big Spike Man.
He's not worshiping anyone other than himself and Jesus.
I got you.
Because God's love is in him, and he.
Well, I think his accessibility to them makes him feel powerful because he himself isn't going to enact the what they can do because they're so fucked up. So it's like he has this tool in his belt that he gets to pull out anytime he wants, and for this mighty price of fucking a jar of whatever, and that's what he uses to his benefit. And I think I think it's a power trip for him. Probably could he have done the same thing and stole her himself? Probably, but he could have possibly gotten hurt in the meantime. So using people who are already like fucking juiced out of their mind or whatever, it's probably to his benefit. They are a weird add-on to this, like why masochistic motorcycle club that could be demons, like that in itself is weird.
Because why not?
I guess. I mean,
Fair point.
I mean, because
You got us there.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
like, realistically, like even before things get like all trippy dippy and stuff like that, the movie already has a dream-like feel.
Yeah.
yes.
They are just the nightmare in it. Like they're the physical like embodiment of like a visual nightmare. There are so many scenes in this, like them showing up with like their headlights just shrouded in shadow and everything. It's almost like, you know, like, oh, we're having a good trip. Oh shit, I thought about my dead grandfather. Oh no, and then now it's just a bad trip and everything.
Yeah,
And
but this movie is also heavy metal too, right? So like that's like the aspect of that you're embodying by using them too.
Yeah, but I mean, like, if this film were, if say you take them away, right, and it's just Jeremiah and his cult and Red, I don't think it would be as interesting or as tense or as nightmarish. Like,
I agree.
That's the thing, is like they are like as scary as a cult leader can be and all that stuff. He's still like basically wearing like a Star Trek uniform and shit, and like he's not an imposing figure at all.
He burned Mandy like in front. That's pretty that was more I'm stuttering. That was more jarring than any of the craziness that happened in the Black Skull's compound.
I'm not talking about what they did. I'm talking about the way they look. Like
Gotcha.
the Black Skulls are the visual representation of the nightmare, where the ideology is the children of the, was it the Children of the Sun? Is that what they're called?
I have no idea. I guess I never paid attention to that.
But yeah, like I like thinking that they are like some sort of like interdimensional acid drop demons I think
It's
it makes
Children of the New Dawn.
Children of the New Dawn. That's it. Which is a card that comes up and it looks like a 80s like horror novel kind of and everything. It's got a very Children of the Corn feel to it and everything.
I really liked all of those transitions.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't want that in every single film I watch, but it works really well on this one. So I was talking about some weird shit before he takes the acid. One of my favorite scenes in this film is when Nicolas Cage comes into the house right after Mandy is burnt, and he's wrapped in barbed wire around in his mouth and around his wrists, which I know that Tasha probably loved so much.
Nope. Nope.
But he comes walking into the house and we see a television commercial for
my God.
Cheddar Goblin.
Yeah. I wasn't paying super close attention when that came on, and I was like, was this an actual, because I thought it was a craft box.
Yeah, that's what it looked like.
Commercial.
Yeah.
It was a real commercial in the 80s. And then I saw the actual logo.
Yeah, he's just like puking up mac and cheese all over the kids and stuff. And literally the only time, okay, so it's that scene, and he's just like, Cheddar Goblin? And then goes on. The Cheddar Goblin mac and cheese, though, is seen in his friend's trailer later on. There are boxes of Cheddar Goblin mac and cheese, so it exists. But
Tie it together.
So the Cheddar Goblin commercial was directed by Casper Kelly, who directed the Adult Swim short Too Many Cooks, which is like a surrealist nightmare, like short film. And that's how, like, the Cheddar Goblin, like the look of that puppet and everything, it is very unnerving. And like, it legitimately feels like a nightmare that I probably had as a kid, where like everyone's happy, but there's just something wrong here. Like something very, very wrong. But yeah, like once that happened, I was sold. Like once I'd heard about the Cheddar Goblin, I was sold on this. And then Funko put out like three different Funkos. So I've got Red, I've got Mandy, and I've got a Cheddar Goblin pop.
He does. There, I think I'm looking at them right now.
No, they're right here.
Oh, you moved them. Okay, you moved them. They were up here.
Yeah, I've got my Toxic Avenger, my Leprechaun. Yeah, and then
and so we're sitting there watching this movie, and I'm like, is that the same Funko that we have? And he was like, yep. I'm like, you're telling me they made a fucking Cheddar Goblin Funko just for that literal 20-second short in the movie? He's like, yep. And I was like, that's crazy.
It's amazing.
Where's Red? Is he covered in blood?
Yep, that's him covered in blood, and then Mandy's on the other side of him.
Gotcha. I can see him. Yeah. Nice.
But yeah, like there's a lot of like interesting little like nods and stuff. Like they live near Crystal Lake, which is the place where Jason Voorhees exacts his revenge on campers, stuff like that. So like it's really interesting like how all this stuff plays, because I don't know if this would have come out 10 years prior if I would have liked it, to be completely honest.
Really?
This like my tastes are always ever changing and stuff like that, but like when this came out, it came out at the right time, and I've seen quite a few films, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this ever since. So a little bit more though about like some of the random stuff that we've got. So it's like the quick shots of animation are very from the magazine Heavy Metal, like I was saying. The way the bikers dressed are a mix of Mad Max and the Cenobites from Hellraiser, with that one guy all out looking like a rougher version of Pinhead. The horn of Abraxas, maybe referencing Jesse Ventura's movie Abraxas somehow. Cage and Risenbro are watching, or Mandy and Red are watching Night Beast on television, which is an old 80s B horror movie, so a little there. And then the driving scenes where Cage is barreling down the road looks exactly like Lynch's driving scenes from the movie Lost Highway, as well as Tarantino's driving scenes from Death Proof, which pays homage to like grindhouse cinema. And this film definitely has like a grindhouse art house feel to it. So it's what I find funny. We just did for May, we did A24 month, And like those are always films that are like referred to as like, you know, like with an art house tinge and stuff. And I always am like in the back of my head, I'm like, Mandy is what I think of when I think art house, because it's so fucking like not a second of this exists without them being like, but what if we change the color here? Or what if we have the camera angle here? Or what if Nicolas Cage is losing his ever-loving shit drinking vodka in a bathroom?
In a very gaudy orange and brown bathroom.
Yes, I was like, I love that wallpaper. I thought it was amazing. I was like, I like the period of it, because like when we started it, Nick was like, I can't remember if this is like actually listed in a time frame, and it is like 1983 or something is when it's supposed to take place, which I thought was kind of cool. We've been watching a lot of movies that have like specific dates on them, like when we watched what is it, Dead Alive had that too.
Yep.
So
that was the 50s.
Yeah, so I find that fascinating. But yeah, he lost his shit, and yeah, and then the end of the movie gets a little bit gorier, like a little bit.
Oh yeah, a little bit.
So compared to some of the stuff we've been watching, I would say that
I was just thinking, like,
I think
compared
everything
to the beginning
in
of the film. The beginning of the film, it gets a little gorier towards the end. That's how I interpreted what you said.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, so since we're talking about like the goriness and stuff, Tasha, does this cross the line of gore for you?
Yes.
Are you fucking serious? This isn't even as gory as Midsummer.
Hold on. Jesus. It crosses the line from gore to comedic.
Okay.
And I will say, Nick, you'll be happy to hear this. This movie, I got the humor in it.
Okay, cool.
That's good.
But now it's like, I don't know if it's supposed to be humorous.
I think it's supposed to be. Like, there's supposed to be outlandish.
It's so intense, especially like when just the ridiculous amount of blood is going into Nick Cage's face. Like, that's comically funny. And I think because it's Nick Cage, I found it humorous. Had it been just some random guy, it wouldn't have been as funny.
Well, like, just...
yeah, it definitely crosses the line.
Well, like, because, like, before we, like, really get into that, like, there's, like, the scene where, like, he snaps the guy's neck and, like, looks at the camera all fucking crazy.
Oh, my God.
Like, that is straight up out of, like, a Bruce Lee movie. Like, that look in the shot, like, the way the camera pans in and everything. It's like, there is no way that you're supposed to watch that and be like, yes, very serious. It's like, no. Amongst all this, like, violence and chaos, there is levity in here. Because, again... it's not a horror comedy by any stretch of the imagination, but like it gets so fucking crazy that you can't help but laugh.
Yeah.
But
there's so many amazing faces that Nick Cage makes.
Oh,
the many faces of Cage.
Yeah, legitimately. Yeah. He's something, let's just say. Even the ending had me laughing when he was like, they're standing in what was like that, it was underground bunker thing. I don't even know what it was.
It looks like service tunnels or something.
Yeah, and like when they're down there and he like this woman's like touching his chest and she's like basically coming on to him. I'm laughing because of how fucking ridiculous this is. Also kind of feeling sorry for this woman because like she's a hot mess, but and then when he like tosses her head into the room, I was like, that was awesome because you didn't even know he was doing that. It was so over the top. I laughed, so that was funny. And then like when the guy Jeremiah,
like, get away from me.
Yeah,
he just like kicks it.
Yeah, and then Jeremiah's whole fucking situation. Oh my God, on his knees and like he's just like literally
suck your dick, man.
Yeah, he's teetering between like being his arrogant, like self-righteous self to his like weepy, please don't kill me,
pleading for his life.
But then once the facade of his like charisma is gone, and then it's that pleading for his life, that's when you actually see the wolf under the sheep's clothing come out, and he's like, "You fucking bow to me, I don't bow to you," and everything. And then Nick Cage is just like, "I'm your god now," and just crushes his fucking skulls. The eye pops out, and there's just
that was the dumbest shit.
I love that
ever.
As we were watching this, Drew and I were like, "That's Nick's favorite part."
Yeah,
and it's not specifically just because of him crushing the head. It's the way the light is pulsing. And everything, and the intensity between the two of them, because Nicolas Cage is literally holding Jeremiah by the head as Jeremiah goes from like oh man, I can save you. It's your soul, you know, like your soul's the thing. Like this, like all this hate just like weighs on you. And then he realizes that's not fucking working. He's like, dude, I'll suck your dick, and that's not working. So he's like, gets fucking angry and like talking about how like, you know, God has a thing for him, and then Nick's like, I got your fucking God right here, and crushes his head. But yeah, it's just like that overdone red light, and then to pitch black, and then to red, and just like the way that's done is one of my favorite scenes in this movie, just as like a piece. Like there's so many like moods in this film, and like this film, like shocker, everybody, Nick likes the vibes. This movie is 10,000% vibes.
Yeah,
like
I agree.
It is so much like there's so many shots in this that are like that's like a scene out of a nightmare. Nothing's happening, but it's just the way that it's shot, the way you're seeing this car going down the road or whatever. It's always ominous. There's nothing in this movie that makes me go like I feel comfortable right now, except for the beginning when, you know, like Red and Mandy are like sitting there like just living their lives and stuff. You can tell that they love each other and everything, and it feels very real. Like even his like stupid knock joke about like I'm you know, like it doesn't make sense.
So bad.
But how many times do you have jokes, or Steph and I have jokes with each other that don't make sense to fucking anybody but us, because there's just a backstory? And that's what it felt like. It felt like looking into a relationship that I had no stakes in. It was just like, this is someone's life.
Yeah,
I agree. I would say, though, when you were talking about the ending of that, where you liked the vibes and the guy crushing his head, that was my least favorite part of the movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not the storyline, like the leading up to, because I liked the back and forth, but the head crushing scene was just too cheesy for my taste. I can see it for somebody who likes that kind of stuff would work really well for them, but like the eyeball popping out, like the idea that just a normal human's going to crush your skull to that degree.
But that's the whole thing of like, is this actually happening?
Correct. I know that.
Also, is he like, say it is actually happening, he's taken that acid that makes him like,
correct.
That's what I was thinking.
So there's a lot of that stuff that like you have to completely like suspend reality.
Yeah,
like,
obviously.
You buy the ticket, take the ride, as Hunter S. Thompson would say. Like literally, just like whatever, man, just take the vibes as it comes.
Yeah, but that was the only part of the movie that really took me out of it, where I was just like, meh, that didn't really work for me. I mean, even like the crazy shit with like that was so stupid too, but funny, where it was like the chainsaw scene.
Oh,
like,
I love it.
That was so, the chainsaw versus the chainsaw, but one's, or whatever it was.
The first scene I thought you loved, Nick.
Well,
and then the end happened.
The first time that I saw it, though, I thought it was like, oh, this is just like crazy to be crazy. But then if you think about it, no, like loggers have chainsaws that are that fucking big to down massive trees. And it's like, oh yeah, that would actually probably exist. But this is just the most batshit crazy, like lightsaber chainsaw fight ever.
Literally.
The only other time I've ever seen a chainsaw fight like this happen was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which both of these movies are both batshit. Both those movies are batshit crazy. This and Chainsaw 2. So if there's a chainsaw fight in it, I'm probably going to like it, is what I'm finding out. So if anybody's got another movie that has a chainsaw fight in it, it's not chainsaw versus a crowbar. It's got to be chainsaw on chainsaw action.
Okay.
Send it my way at podofthedead666@gmail.com. You know, I'm your Huckleberry. So what I did want to ask, though, is like, what was your favorite kill in the film? See, I think Steph's is the old lady's head getting thrown.
Maybe. I liked that whole scene. Like I liked I mean, most of the death scenes were fine. Honestly, like, this sounds fucking horrible, but like that stuff doesn't. So I'm going to say this again, like every fucking episode. It's like, it didn't resonate a whole lot, because it was just like, oh, death. And it was like, now we're going on to the other one. The death, though, in front of the porn stuff was kind of weird, because the guy had like a sword dick, and that was really fucking weird. And I didn't even know what I was seeing at that point, because I was like, what is going on? I don't even know. It was so fucking weird.
It all kind of blurred together. The most memorable ones are the chainsaw and the head smashing. I can't remember what happened to the guy when he first rolled up that was in the van.
Brother Swan.
Yeah.
He's the one that he
with the
shoves.
girl.
He's the one that he shoves the axe tip down his throat.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's that one. Yeah, that one.
That's your favorite?
That one. It's not my honest. I don't have a favorite.
Well, no,
kill.
just the one. Like in favorite, I mean, like the one that sticks out.
That was the most disturbing one.
Okay, yeah.
Although, like I clearly couldn't recall it, but like the chainsaw one was just absolutely absurd. The head smashing one, absolutely absurd. But that one was so cringy.
And I think it's really well done that he dies that way, because he's also the one saying some of the worst stuff about Mandy through the film.
Yeah,
because he's talking about like the darker the whore, the brighter the flame, and stuff like that. And he's the one that like gets it in the mouth. So it's like
rather
so
to burn
fitting.
out than
Yeah, he's about to say rather to burn out than fade away, and before he can even finish it.
Oh no!
And all of the blood was a lot. But.
Yeah, no, the best death was the car scene with fucking Spiky Man. Is that who it was? And then he like chops his fucking head off, and he lights a cigarette on his skull. That's the best scene
in front of the flaming car.
Cool.
Yeah. He like picks a fucking cigarette off the ground, and I was like, he's gonna light it off his fucking skull, isn't he? And I even said that out loud. And sure enough, that motherfucker, very 80s-esque, walks over and lights a damn cigarette and takes a hit of it. I was like. Yeah, that's epic. So that's my favorite scene of the deaths. That was so good.
And like, there's so many lines that like I feel bad for Mandy. Like, I'm not saying that like and everything, but like there's so many lines that between the Black Skulls and the Children of the New Dawn say about her or about things that are so quotable. And like, and not that I'm going to be fucking running around saying like the darker the whore, the brighter the flame, but that's such a fucking good line. And then when he's like dealing with that guy in front of the flaming car, that Black Skull character, I don't know his character name or whatever, he just keeps saying she still burns. She still burns.
Oh,
and it's like their voices are so like guttural and everything, and it's so fucking like devastating. Like even when Nick Cage is like tied to that fucking thing, the pipe and everything, and gets his shirt cut, he literally is just like, do you have a death wish? He's like, I don't want to talk about that, because he literally does. He wants to die in a sense. Like he's on this revenge trip. He doesn't care if he dies at any cost, all that kind of stuff. I just fucking love. Like, so good. Like I wish I had all the things that Jeremiah Sand says in like just a big document, because the way that he talks about himself and like that God has given him all these divine rights and all this stuff, it's so real. It's so real with that narcissism and like just mixed with charisma, that's 100%. Like they made the cult leader perfect in this. Yeah. As comical as he can be at times, because his facade
super fucking cringy. Oh my God.
But it's one of those things, like it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz, the facade is there. It's this almighty powerful thing. But once the curtain's removed and stuff, it's like, oh, it's just a guy. It's just a guy.
Right. Because he just kills anyone that shows any sort of resistance.
Yep, any dissonance.
But then you have Red, and then you have Red who won't back down, and he doesn't know how to handle that, and that's when he breaks. Yeah,
because he's like, literally, I'll fix you. I'll suck your dick. Like, I mean, like you
what
literally,
do you want?
You can't. Like, there was no beating around the bush. It's like, we're going to make this guy go as low as he can. Like, he's willing to do anything not to die because he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but
it's true.
So good.
All right, you girls got anything else you wanna touch on or anything into this movie before we start getting into reviews?
I don't think so. I think we've covered pretty much the whole movie.
All right, so before we do our reviews, I don't know if I told you this, Tasha. Did I tell you that? I know I told Steph. Well, we're gonna start
at the top of the podcast.
Did I tell you that? Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna let all the listeners know then. All right. So what we're gonna try and do is we're gonna try and see what each other rated the movie before they give their review. Okay. So
I have an idea. Can we add to that and just like we write it down and then show it when the next person says it? Does that make sense?
Well, that would only work through the visual medium. It has to be through audio.
Well, we can still write it down so that way nobody changes their answer.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Well, I was just going to say it before and then they give their diatribe and then give us their score. So that's where it's like,
Well, I mean, maybe we should write down our own review numbers so that nobody's
I already know
it.
mine. I already
I know what mine is too. So
I already know yours too, Nick.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you
Okay.
do.
All right. Well, I think we should vote on Nick's first, Tasha, since he's the one that recommended this movie and this is one of his favorite movies. So I think we should decide.
Okay.
What do we think he's going to rate it?
Okay.
What do you think he's going to rate it?
A 9.5.
I was going to say a 9.
Okay. So, Panos Cosmatos has one other film called Behind the Black Rainbow, I believe is what it's called.
Okay.
I've not got to see it. I was looking for it yesterday to watch, and it was no longer on Shudder. But that is my next film that I need to watch because I love this movie. I love this movie so goddamn much. There's from the soundtrack, like the just ominous like synth score to like just the droning guitars, like you said, like the guy from Sun O, which is just like this drone metal band. Like it's just like there's literally no drummer and stuff in some of their stuff. It's just 2 guitars, a wall of amps, and just kind of stuff. And it's
Me fall asleep.
it's just very ominous. None of the comedy in this movie misses on me. I laugh when I feel like they want me to laugh. I cheer when I think they want me to cheer. This is a movie that I can just throw on at any time and just bathe myself in the purple and blue and red glows of all the light. It's just literally every little scene in this movie for me is very memorable. I believe, so it came out in 2018. I believe that this is the greatest film to come out since 2018. Because of that, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10.
I was close.
Okay.
I went into watching Mandy for homework going like, I'm pretty sure this is a 10, but it's been a little bit since I've watched it. And I watched it and I was like, can I give it higher? Like, I fucking love every little thing. And like, I understand that like you guys say it's like, it's slow at the beginning and everything like that. And it's like, yeah, but there's so much to be like dug into about the stuff in the beginning that rewards me upon every viewing. I pick up on something else. I may think, oh, well, actually, maybe the story is this. Maybe the chemist, maybe the tiger is red all along.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
we didn't even talk about that bit.
Yeah, like realistically, it's one of those things where like the tiger and red are the same thing. He was caged and now he's uncaged. Like it's all that kind of shit. Like he
is caged.
Yes.
Yeah, literally.
God damn it. So yeah, 10 out of 10. Would recommend always.
Okay.
I don't give a shit. I don't fucking care if I think you're gonna like this movie. I'm going to. This is what I've always done. You haven't seen Mandy? You have to see Mandy. This is one of those few films that like I don't care what your fucking taste is. I may think that you actually hate it, but I don't care. You have to at least see it because seeing is believing. So yeah.
And we believe in Nick Cage.
Goddamn right. And then an eagle screeches and the flag starts waving behind.
And you see Nick Cage's hair.
His wonderful
blowing in the
hair.
wind. It's his hair, not an American flag.
Yeah, it's his hair painted as an American flag.
With a watermark of Nick Cage's face in his hair, waving.
I think you and Cosmatos are kind of already starting to work on a sequel to Mandy. Mandy 2, the Electric Boogaloo.
Feeling it.
All right.
Who's going next?
Let's see here. I'm going to say you, Tasha. You're already talking. So, Steph, what do you think Tasha's score is? I'm going to guess. She's going to give this like a 7.
I was going to guess a 7.5.
Okay.
Well, Nick, you are correct.
All right.
I'm giving it a 7. Sorry, I didn't do my whole diatribe beforehand. But upon second viewing, I definitely like this movie a lot more. Having that synopsis, as silly as it sounds, really made sure I knew what was going on. Because, like the beginning, like it's been said, is very slow. I actually watched this in 2 parts because I kind of lost track and wanted to make sure that I stayed in it. So I watched the first half and then kind of gave it for the following day and finished it. the second day. I don't necessarily recommend doing that, but it worked for me at least. We've talked about it before. I really like movies with cults, so that bit got me. Seeing him as like he was like a very quintessential 70s cult leader. So it's like you said, cringy and creepy. His smallness was, I liked how that opened up, like how Steph mentioned with like her laughing at him and then that turning course for her. The scene where she gets burned alive was intense.
Very.
This sounds weird. I liked that scene a lot. It was very, very powerful seeing Nick Cage's reaction to that. My favorite scene in the movie is him in the bathroom.
Yeah, it's fucking
just
great.
that raw emotion, and just no one else could do it better, I don't think, than him just losing his absolute mind. And the ending, the very, very end of him just driving off and smiling extremely creepily to the camera. I think we need to also talk about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Because he's seeing Mandy there, and he's just fucking. He has lost his
manic.
Mind. Yep. Yeah. He's given himself to the abyss at that point.
Yeah. So like I didn't necessarily like the whole Black Skulls thing. I get why it was in there. The movie wouldn't be the same without it. But like I said, I feel like it was just there to have this insane rage scene.
Okay.
But yeah, I really, really liked it. I will say another negative, I wish his name wasn't Red. I think that's really on the nose with all of the red happening around.
Well, I think it has more to do with just the Jupiter, and then that red is also synonymous with love and anger, and that is his character. So it as much as it is on the nose, but it draws so many lines through the thing that I think it's a nice nod.
Okay.
But I get it. Like,
and that was lost on me. Yeah, no, I didn't get the...
This is only because I've seen the movie like 10 times.
Yeah, you have so many like alternate explanations.
Yes.
And I do like how this is one movie. Usually I'm not a huge fan of movies that leave a lot up for interpretation, but I do like that aspect of it, of knowing that there is a huge drug piece to it.
Yeah.
And having that like you can't quite trust the narrator aspect.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
7. My score.
All right. So Steph,
oh God.
I'm really hard. It's really hard to figure out. I've got 2 scores in my head, and I don't want to play it safe. I don't want to play it safe because there's an obvious safe score that I could give that I think that you're going to say.
Okay.
But I'm going to say. I'm going to say you're giving it a 5.5.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was also going to say, and now I feel like I'm just piggybacking on yours. But yeah, a 5.5.
I was bouncing between like 4 and 6, and I was like, I think she's maybe on the better side. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I don't think it's anything less than a 5.
Okay, we're about to find out.
Yeah, you are. It's kind of creepy how well you know me, because I did say this was a 5.5.
Yes.
I was like, these motherfuckers are gonna think I'm gonna give this like a 6 or 7. I guarantee it. And then you guys are like, no, she's gonna give it a 5.5.
No,
holy shit. Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna give it.
The beginning kind of drug it down a little bit for you, I think, is what did it.
Yeah.
And then how you were talking about the end.
Yeah, it was definitely a movie. Like 5s usually, like there's occasionally something under a 5 I will rewatch just for the sake of just giving it a second chance. But most of the time, my 5 is my cutoff. Like I'm never going to probably ever watch a movie again if it's below a 5, and unless I'm tortured into it. But yeah, so this is something I would probably rewatch in company at some other point in life.
I'm rewatching it.
Yeah, probably. And then I would probably skip the parts a little bit that are too draggy-on-y for me, and then just pay attention to the parts that were a little more entertaining. So yeah, that's it. It was just too slow. I mean, I didn't get part of it, like in the sense of like, I didn't feel some of the things were necessary, but I did gather on the stuff like the Jupiter talk and like all of those things. Like I did get all of the symbolism and the discussions and stuff like that. But I love Nick Cage as a whole. He's like one of those characters in movies that
he's always cringy in some part, but like you love it because that's Nick Cage doing the cringe, and like only he can do it to that degree that you actually appreciate it, regardless of whatever the necessity in the acting is. Like, I don't know what it is.
There's only one other person that I can really think of that can do that kind of stuff, and it's because of like they're overacting on purpose, and that's Jack Black.
Yeah.
Jack Black does that kind of stuff too. Granted, he doesn't take the same kind of roles as Nicolas Cage.
Correct.
But like how over the top manic and cringy and stuff like he is like in School of Rock or like in, you know, Tenacious D stuff. Like, yeah, he's just like so, and like that's the only line that I can draw that's like it's acceptable when he overacts too. Like,
yeah, but the difference is that I always, in every single capacity, think Jack Black is endearing, even when he's cringy.
Yeah.
I do not look at Nick Cage as endearing when he's cringy. He's just cringy, but in a humorous way. And like, I don't know what it is about him. There's nobody else who could have played this part realistically in this movie and done it as successfully, only because of his merits as an actor and his ability to overact in scenes. Because see, like, Tasha, you like the bathroom scene. I liked it. I loved the way that they filmed it. It was so good. And the fucking wallpaper was so good. But like, the overacting in that scene for me was perfect.
In a 2018 UK Guardian interview, Nicolas Cage described his performance inspiration. He said, only just before shooting started, his 14-year marriage to Alice Kim Cage came to a sudden end, which was a shocker for him, and he didn't see it coming, and those feelings had to go somewhere, so they went into this performance.
I can see that.
There is a small bit of that I had a moment like that in my car one day where I just pulled over to the side of the road and just raged and screamed as hard as humanly possible. So there's a part of that scene that's like, oh, I feel so bad for him. But then it just keeps going and then you can't help but like giggle in like an uncomfortable way.
And for me, like in that scene, it's like, oh, he's losing his mind. Okay, that's understandable.
It's Nick Cage.
And then it's like, he gets to that part where it's kind of comical. But then, like, it comes back down and it gets real dark for me because, like, he's, like, holding his throat as he's forcing himself to continue to drink. And I'm like, oh, my fucking God. Like, it takes a huge... That one scene is, like, a minute long. And it's a huge emotional roller coaster.
I agree.
So,
it had to have been exhausting.
I can't imagine.
I can only imagine how many times he had to do that and how exhausted he was.
Can you imagine how hoarse you could only do that so many times in a row? My God. Like, because that's not like a trained, like, you know, like fry scream, like in a metal band or anything. That is just an emotional outburst. So.
And then having to shove that much water down your mouth because you know he's not really drinking vodka, but like that's a lot in itself.
You don't know that? You don't know that?
And then all
that's Rage Cage.
So yeah, you guys are right. 5.5. Like I said, it wasn't bad. It wasn't my favorite, and I like Nicolas Cage. And if this movie didn't have him in it, it wouldn't even have passed a movie that I would watch again.
Right. So what's that give us, Tasha?
That gives us a 75.
It makes the Hall of Fame!
That gives Mandy a 75.
Yes! So happy. I'm so fucking happy. I'm so pumped right now. I'm going to wear a Tiger shirt and drink in the bathroom.
I know, I want that shirt.
I was like, Nick needs that shirt.
You can buy that shirt from Legion M. You can buy that fucking axe. They have that axe. It's like $300. I have a spot just waiting for it.
Oh my God.
Right next to my Twin Peaks pendant that I have up here.
So after going through all of our ratings and stuff for all the movies, this is what, your third 10 out of 10?
This is my third 10 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay. Oh. Okay. And Tasha's had what? One or two?
Yep, she's had one.
110.
Yeah. A couple close calls, but yeah.
I'm interested to see what you will eventually hit a 10 out of 10 on.
I don't know if there ever will be.
There has to be. There has to be one.
I don't know if there is. I don't even know if I believe in that. I know.
Is there a movie that's not horror related that you would give a 10 out of 10 to?
That's not Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
No. The Two Towers. The Two Towers of Lord of the Rings is a 10 out of 10 all day, every day for me. But other than that, I don't know if there's a movie out there that's that perfect. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know.
You could ask me this question like 2 years from now and stuff, and my love for this movie could dip. Right now, it is a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, like, that's fair.
You know, like, and that's just kind of like, that's how I do my reviews anymore. I'm just like, how do I feel about this right now? That's why I'm a lot more liberal with giving something a 10. I'm just like, yeah, fuck yeah, this is awesome.
I would be like that with TV series just because you get to know the characters a lot more and you have a lot more depth with like the series when you're watching it. Cause like Outlander is a 10 out of 10 for me. I fucking love that series. But like, it's hard for me to do that with movies because you get such little time to build your relationship with the characters in most cases. And like, that's probably why The Two Towers is a 10 out of 10 for me because you have 3 movies to build your relationship with these characters. So I think that plays a lot in for me. I have to feel like I'm a perfect person to be I'm an avoider. I'm also a person that doesn't get emotionally involved easily. So like I don't get emotionally involved with characters even in books or anything. And so it takes me a while. And so I think that that's a huge factor into why I won't give anything that.
So if Mandy was 5 hours long, you would give it a 10?
No.
Mandy was a series.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. So
see, that's where I'm not a television person for the most part. Like that's just too much, and I just need Nick Cage, some acid, some heavy metal stuff, some like crazy ass, Rough Rider DMX meets Cenobites, like 4-wheeler fucking Satan demon things. All fucking day. This literally is just a black light. It's just a black light poster on a wall, and I'm just
literally.
like, yes.
Yeah.
Girls, have anything that you'd like to champion before we give out homework?
I do.
All right,
Go
what do you
for it,
got?
Tasha.
So Apple TV has a new show out called Presumed Innocent. And I'm only an episode and a half in, but it has Jake Gyllenhaal as the main character, and I will watch literally anything he's in.
Okay.
Yeah, he plays a city prosecutor, and he is kind of on, like, they think that he committed a murder for somebody, so that's kind of where we are. First episode is rather boring, but you have to kind of build, I suppose. And then you get hooked after the first, like right at the end of the first episode, it sucks you in to carry on into the second. So I highly recommend it if you like crime dramas.
Okay.
Cool. What do you got, Steph?
I got 2 things. So we got done watching some like stuff on TV and I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to watch next. So I put on the Sabrina show that's on Netflix, and I have not watched it all. I watched the first season and then I never went back and watched it. Now I'm on season 3. There's 4 parts. I guess they're not seasons, they're parts, but I'm on I just started part 3. It's actually really good. Like it's a teen-esque show, but it is horror, and I've found that I really liked it. I loved the show growing up with whatever her name is.
Melissa Joan Hart.
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah. I liked it. I was cutesy when I was growing up, but like when we were growing up. But this is way different than that. Not in the same realm, but I really like it. It's dark. It's definitely good, and it's on Netflix. So I'm definitely watching that. And I'm actually probably gonna go watch that tonight. So, and then Inside Out 2, we went and saw. Yeah. So we saw that yesterday on Father's Day. Sorry, guys, in the magic of podcast stuff, this is when we're filming or recording. But anyway,
the veil has been lifted.
Yeah, it has.
Oh!
But we went and saw it, and people told me going in, they're like, bring Kleenexes because you're gonna cry. I cried twice, but I also cry over everything really easily. So that was one thing, but it's so relatable, and that's what I like about those movies. It's like when I watched the first one, I really like Bing Bong in it, but I felt like it was really relatable to like being a parent and seeing what your kids go through emotionally. And then this one also touches on the parents and their feelings, and so it also touches on the teenagers, and like so much so that it was like, that's our child. That's what our children do. Like all of those things. And like anxiety is a huge part of this, and what kids that are going through maturity and like puberty are feeling with all the anxiety. And I just thought it was really, really well done. And there's a character in it that was just perfectly done, with like kind of like when our kids grow up and they like Dora. And there's a character that's like Dora.
He was one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Oh my God, it was so good. It was so funny. And yes, it was so cute.
Floofy, is that his name?
Bloofy.
Yeah, Bloofy, voiced by Ron Funches, which was amazing.
Yeah.
And then the anime video game character that just rolled into a ball. Both those. Okay, now here. I thought the movie was actually really good. I hated the first one. I thought the first one sucked. Straight up. Like I watched it. I remember I took the kids to see it, and I was like, this like felt like it was trying too hard to like be, emotionally like, whatever. This one though, like it felt more genuine and stuff like that. I thought it was a lot better. So like if you saw the first Inside Out and you were just like, it wasn't that good. I think this one was just, I don't know, the comedy hit better. It just all around I thought was a better movie.
Yeah,
I
really
think
liked
Inside
it.
Out was the first attempt at like a Pixar movie tackling big concepts.
Yeah.
Because I think that came out before, was it Spirit or something?
Well, what
There was
about
one
Up?
death.
What about Up? Like that's where for me Pixar like started going downhill, because Up was literally about grief and loss and all that stuff.
Okay.
And I didn't care
One
for
I haven't
that.
seen yet.
I haven't seen it either.
A lot of people love that movie. I saw it in theaters when it came out and I legit hated it. but that's neither here nor there. I'm going to give a couple recommendations on theme for our movie that we watched today.
So music.
Yes.
I figured.
So one of my straight up favorite metal bands of all time, Ulcerate from New Zealand, put out their newest album, amazingly titled Cutting the Throat of God. They are
Nice.
it's a 3-piece death metal band, but it's not your grandma's death metal. It's not like Cannibal Corpse and stuff like that. It's very like discordant, but like these dudes, the guitar player does some of the coolest, weirdest melodic lines, and not like in a masturbatory like, oh, I'm gonna fill this with as many notes as possible, but just like really cool, like ear hooky kind of stuff. And then their drummer, Jamie St. Merritt, is easily the greatest drummer to have ever sat behind the throne of a drum set. The things that dude can do and fill like space is amazing, because they're really big on like these huge crescendos and dropping real soft where it's just like clean guitar and like just like some toms and cymbals and stuff. Super fucking good. Their new album just came out and fucking possible album of the year for me.
Okay,
And then,
that's good.
And then on that note, I don't think I've ever name dropped these guys on here and stuff, but they're from Toledo. They're like my favorite band that goes like that I get to see a lot. They're called Mutilatred. If you've not checked these guys out, their album Determined to Rot is on all streaming platforms and stuff like that. It is no frills death metal. This is just no solos, no nothing. It's all about like, we're just gonna fucking make you headbang. That's it. End of discussion. So those are the two that I've got, and then I've got one more. I just need to double check the name of the album real quick, because I've been wanting to do this and have forgotten for a very long time. Okay. And I feel really bad because I asked this man to give his blessing on us using his music for our intro and outro. Okay. And the band that you've been hearing all this time is a band called Seven Doors. The album is Feast of the Repulsive Dead. The song that you always hear coming in and out of here is I'll Swallow Your Soul, which is literally an Evil Dead song. This dude writes songs that are just based on horror films and stuff like that. That's for the most part. So like our intro and our outro is all that song. Check him out. It's a one-piece metal band. He does all the drums, all the guitars, all the vocals and stuff like that. Huge influence on me as I've been doing that. And but yeah, so check out Seven Doors, check out Ulcerate, check out Mutilatred, check out Inside Out 2, check out Jake Gyllenhaal, and there's something else.
No, that's good. Just check out Jake Gyllenhaal.
Just check him out.
Agreed.
It's what I do.
Yep.
So I believe it's homework time. So this will be our first movie, I believe, that we're watching a second part of. And we are going to be watching Pearl from director Ty West. We are going to be watching that in anticipation for Maxine, which will be coming out, which we are supposed to be going all to see together. Is that correct?
I believe so. When are we doing that again?
I don't know.
It's in July.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about it offline. It don't matter. None of this matters. A couple minutes, it won't even be matter. But so yeah, we're gonna do Pearl for homework this week.
Awesome.
And
Good. I've been wanting to see this.
I have held off on I was going to watch it right before we started this podcast, and it was one that Steph wanted to see, but we hadn't seen X, I'd seen X, but she hadn't, so we just forced it into the milieu of the podcast, and then it's just
I had seen X. We saw it together the first time.
You watched it before the podcast?
X, and you and I watched X together for the very first time, and then we watched it together for the podcast.
I don't know where I am half the time.
Yeah, we watched it together.
I took too much of that Nicolas Cage acid.
Apparently.
With that being said, for Pod of the Dead, I am Nicholas.
I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Natasha.
Come back and listen to us, or else.